Okay, so I'm going to make another very simple video. Somebody asked me to do a short rundown of secured credit cards, and they were asking me, I suppose, which one was the best one. Now, first of all, I've never used a secured credit card, but what I'm going to show you is the methodology behind choosing a secured credit card. Now, I've never used a secured credit card because I've always, since I got out of college, I started working. My credit was bad then, but for probably the last 7 or 8 years, I've actually had pretty good credit. And by good, I mean it was above 700. Right now, I have an 850 credit score. I think what really helped me build my credit was the fact that I took out a used car loan and I paid that loan on time regularly, and at the same time I was paying down student loans once I graduated school. What a lot of people do that actually short circuits their credit building is they pay cash on a car, like their first car. My girlfriend got her first car, she paid cash for it. Now, the mistake behind that is that if you don't borrow in order to get that car, what's going to happen is you'll never build a line of credit. Ultimately, one of your goals is that you need to build a line of credit. The bank is always going to look at your line of credit, and they're going to look at the length of that line of credit. So what they're looking at is a long length line of credit that shows that over a long period of time that you have been a regular payee and that you have never defaulted. They're making sure that you have like very few, if any, charge-offs. They don't like to see charge-offs. They damn sure don't want to see any bankruptcies. Be careful of all these people who tell you this bullshit about, oh yeah, well, you don't have to pay something, and if they press you, you can just declare bankruptcy. Bankruptcy is really bad on your credit. It stays with you for 7 years. The bankruptcy laws were changed during the George Bush administration. You can look all that up. In fact, I'll provide you links so I don't have to get political, even though I don't mind getting political. But the bottom line is, during the George Bush administration, they changed the bankruptcy laws, and they made it much, much more difficult to discharge certain types of debt. But that's all besides the point. This issue is about secured credit cards. So I'm going to talk to you about methodology. So first of all, the first question that some of you may ask, what is a secured credit card? Well, it's the same thing ultimately as a security deposit if you were renting an apartment. It's very simple. If I'm the landlord and I look at you and you're a young person, I'm not going to trust you to rent my property. There are two things that most likely are going to happen. Either you're going to have a wild party and damage something like the sheetrock walls or the floors, or possibly you might default on the payments for your rent, just like what's happening now during these rent moratoriums. And you have a lot of people who haven't been paying rent. And because they're not paying rent, there's a lot of landlords. In fact, just to show you what's happening, there's a lot of landlords, and these landlords are seriously hurting. Like, for instance, as you can see in this recent story, there are landlords who themselves are facing homelessness because they have tenants that fall behind on the rent. See, it's easy for somebody to tell you that all you need to do in order to start building wealth is to get into real estate. But what you don't understand, if you're a landlord, you're responsible for the property. So that means if the toilet doesn't work, if the air conditioning system doesn't work, if the heating system doesn't work, you're responsible for all of that if you're a landlord. So ultimately, as we've seen with COVID, you could be in a situation where you have people who are not paying you rent, and you're still responsible for making sure that the premises, everything on the premises works. So you could be a landlord operating with $0 and probably having to go into debt just to keep these motherfuckers from freezing to death or from burning up in their apartment. And meanwhile, they're not paying you rent. Now, during this COVID crisis, we've seen what that looks like. Here in New York City, that's happened to a number of people. I'm fortunate because I only rent to people who, number one, I make them take out large security deposits, so I hold on to a lot of their money. But on top of that, I make sure that I get direct debit from these people so that this way they can't stiff me. And if they do, there's also a third thing you can do. You can only rent month to month. So this way, if they stop paying you rent, you can call the sheriff, throw them the fuck out on their head. The problem with places like California and New York is they're always trying to change the laws in order to make it more in favor of the tenant who's not paying money, which is not fair to the landlord. So it's a huge clusterfuck ultimately, but this is what it is. This person had $23,000 unpaid rent. So considering we've been in COVID for about what, a year and a half, since March 2020, that must mean that this person should have been paying about $1,100 a month or something like that. And they just haven't been paying it. So this is, you got to be careful. Like me personally, I have some recommendations. You should only rent to civil service workers who have a history of employment. And number two, if you have to rent to students, you should make sure that you take out direct debit so that you get their money before they get their money. So not paying me my rent is not a goddamn option. I'll throw you out on your head. So anyway, back to secured credit cards. A security deposit is what you hand the landlord in order to make sure that if you default on your rent or if you damage anything, the landlord doesn't have to come to you and ask for money. They can just take it out of the money you already gave them. I made my tenants give me 5 months security deposit. So that means if they suddenly defaulted on the rent for 5 months, which they can't do, I can go for 5 months without having to collect rent from them because I'm sucking down their security deposit. It kind of makes sense. So a secured credit card is basically the bank telling you, guess what, motherfucker, we don't trust you. If you want a credit card from us, you're going to give us your money first, and we're going to hold on to your money. And God forbid you come up late on a payment, we got your money. We ain't giving it back. We're going to use your money to pay towards your debt that you didn't pay on time. So that's basically the bank saying, number one, we don't trust you. And number two, it's like you came to us, you're asking for money. We're not giving you nothing unless you're giving us a deposit. That's basically what it is. They even sum it up here. A secured card is nearly identical to an unsecured card in that you receive a credit limit, can incur interest charges, and in some cases even earn rewards. The difference is you're required to make a deposit in order to receive a line of credit. It's very, very simple. The amount you deposit usually becomes your credit limit. So what they're saying is, oh, you want a $5,000 credit limit? Yeah, well, give us $5,000. That's what they're saying. So this is basically the bank saying, yeah, we'll give you a credit card, but we don't trust your ass. We'll help you build your credit, but we don't trust your ass. So basically what they're saying is your credit sucks. Now, I've been there, so I'm not knocking on you. I've been there before. A long time ago, I had a 530 score. Right now, I am sitting on the top with an 850. So I mean, my first car, I had a car on a freaking 28% something interest rate. And it was costing me damn near twice what it should be costing me to drive that car. But I used that car, I paid on time, and I slowly built my credit. So just because your credit's fucked up doesn't mean that that's the end. Sometimes you can build your credit even from a bad situation. So I'm just keeping it real. So anyway, they say their favorite secure credit card is Discover It secured credit card, right? So we're going to look at Discover It. Now, they didn't give a worst card, and I guess there's no real reason why a card should be worse because ultimately, you know, it's your money, ultimately. It's not their credit, it's your money. But what they want to see is that we're holding on to your money. You're going to use this credit card. You're going to pay it back on time, and then you'll slowly build your credit like that. So basically, I guess they didn't have a reason why one is worst, but they could just say, okay, this one's the best, but they have some that might be better for people who have to travel, like if you're a traveling student. And then they have one from a credit union. I like credit unions. I'll tell you why. They also say major banks, so you're talking about Chase, HSBC, Capital One, so forth, so on. And then they say if you want to get the high credit limit or you have a high credit unit, they have Federal Credit Union, First Tech Federal Credit Union. So we'll look at that in a second. So let's look at the methodology. So if you want to earn rewards, now I talked about this in my last credit card video, and I'll provide the link so that you can watch my last credit card video, but that's for people who actually have good credit or are building their credit beyond 700. So what do they say? They say the pros, cashback program, generous welcoming bonus, Discover automatically reviews your credit card account starting at 8 months to see if they can transition you to an unsecured line. So ultimately, Discover is trying to move you from the secured credit card to a regular credit card. So I pretty much believe that most credit card grantors do this because they don't want you to stay secured forever. They ultimately want to get you into a regular credit card. So what does it say the cons? It says cashback program limits earnings, 2% cashback at gas stations and restaurants on up to $1,000 in combined purchases every quarter. Then there's 1% cashback. So originally it started at 2, then it drops to 1. One thing you may notice is a lot of credit cards or secured cards, what they'll do is in order to get 2% cash back, they'll force you to pay an annual fee. This one gives you an introductory 2%, but drops it later to 1. So they consider that a con. Low credit line prevents cardholders from charging high-cost items. Okay, so let's look at that. It says there's no annual fee, so that's a plus. It says the APR is 22.99%, so that means that for every dollar you spend or borrow, it would cost you 22.99%. They don't even say 23%. They say 22.99, but basically we can round up, say 23. So understand this, for every dollar you borrow, it's costing you 23 cents. Think about that. So that means if you borrow $500, 23 times 100 is what? $2,300 over time. But let's just focus on it like this. We don't want to pay any interest. We don't want to pay any interest at all. So what we're focused on doing, in fact, you know what? I was using my calculator, but I'm using the wrong type of calculator, so I kind of did that wrong. But let's assume it like this. They're charging 22.99% over a year's time. So we don't want that. What we want to do is we want to take out a card. We want to pay this back every single night so that this way we never end up paying interest. All right. So it says intro APR, not applicable on purchases. So there's no intro APR. It says there's a balance transfer fee. This is also something I talked about in the other video you want to avoid. Balance transfer fees mean that if your interest rate here is 22.99, but you have another card and the interest rate on that one is 25 or something, you might want to take the balance off of one card and move it to this one because the interest rate's lower. We want to avoid balance transfers as much as possible. Balance transfers may be good for consolidating your debt, but ultimately you probably want to stay away from that, especially if you have shitty credit or if you're trying to build your credit. We want to stay away from that. They say credit needed. This is for people who are building credit. Now, they know that if you're getting a secured card, chances are you're building up your credit, okay? So this is for all of these cards are for newbies. These are for people who are just getting started. Okay, so they're saying they like this one the most. They say this is the best that you can get. So the Discover It secured credit card, they're saying this is the best you can get right now. This article was as late as 4 hours ago. It was updated. I'll be damned. Okay, the next card, Capital One Platinum. I use Capital One Bank. I happen to like Capital One, but I use Capital One to get travel rewards so that I can fly business class and I can avoid flying economy with all the peasants. I want to be sipping wine on the tarmac before the plane even takes off. I want to have a stewardess who knows my last name. I want to get on the plane first. I want to get off the plane first. I want to get my bags first. I want to be in the cab first. I want to be in the business class lounge. Those are things you only get when you know how to build up your travel points and then spend them in order to upgrade to business class. More on that later. And definitely if you're new to this channel because you're watching this video, make sure you subscribe because I got a great video coming up where I'm going to be going to Maldives on business class, probably through Doha, either that or through Dubai again. So make sure you subscribe. You're going to love it. Okay. What did I say? No annual fee. There's a refundable deposit, $200 refundable deposit, up to basically $200. Get access to a higher credit line after making your first 5 monthly payments. Here's the problem. If you give them $1,000, then you're locked into $1,000. But what you ultimately want is you want to build your available credit. Some cards don't offer you high credit lines, which means that it's difficult to keep building your credit past a certain point. That's not what you're looking for. What you want to do is you want to build your credit so that you can get a higher credit line. Hopefully you understand that. So they say no fee charged on purchases made outside the U.S. That's no foreign transaction fees typically. That's another good thing I like to look for when I get a card. No, I refuse to pay an annual fee, and I don't like foreign transaction fees. What's next? Flexibility to change your payment due date. Maybe you get paid on the 15th, so you want to make your payment due date on the 30th. Or maybe something else. Maybe you get paid on the 10th. I don't know. I don't know what your job says, basically. Cons, high 26.99. Now, the last one was, what was it? The last one was like 22.99. This one is higher, 26.99. But once again, if you're the type of person who pays on time and pays off the balance, you'll never pay that 26.99%. They can tell me whatever my interest rate is. I don't care, because all I do is I pay early, never pay the interest. So when I borrow $1, I'm paying back $1. I'm not paying back $1.26. Hopefully you understand what I'm saying. No welcome bonus. They say that there's no rewards program. After you apply and submit your deposit, it takes 2 to 3 weeks to get your card. Okay, they consider that a con, but you know what? I think 2 to 3 weeks is actually a long time. Usually when you order most cards, it only takes a couple of days, possibly even 1 week. 2 to 3 weeks, that's something to consider, because if you're a college student, you might need that card immediately to start buying books or video games or condoms or whatever it is. Capital One periodically reviews your account to see if you can be transitioned to an unsecured card. So once again, all of these card companies, they don't want you to stay as a secured member. They want to move you to real higher credit lines. Your goal is to build your credit line as high as you can build it without paying interest. That's what I did, and that's the best thing you can do. That's where you want to go. I'm going to provide the link to this page so you can come back and look at it again. They say best for a high credit limit with this First Tech credit union. So they say no annual fee, $25,000 maximum credit limit, which is one of the highest for secured cards. That's really cool. No fee charged on purchases made outside of America. $500 minimum security deposit. Now, this is considered a con, but keep in mind, if you do well with this card, you can build up to a $25,000 maximum. And on top of that, the APR is lower than both the Capital One and the Discover. The APR is only 18% max on $25,000, which you never want to pay. Because understand this, you want to build up your limits as high as possible over time. That's the goal. 25,000, if you could possibly get 25,000 on just one card, and you could somehow manage to keep your payments regular on time, you'd be able to get high credit beyond a 750 in just maybe 2 or 3 years. But it also depends on you. You got to make those payments on time. You got to make those payments regularly on time. All right, so this is a good card right here. And again, this gives you a very high possible 25,000 credit limit. That's good. That's really good. So then they say Citi. Citi has no annual fee. Pretty much none of these things have an annual fee. These are damn near like debit cards to the most part. $200 refundable deposit. Okay. Flexibility to change your payment due date. A lot of secured credit cards do that. That's a good thing, especially if you work and you get paid in the middle of the week or something, or bi-weekly. Cons, no reward program, 3% transaction fee. Obviously, this card is not good for somebody traveling and needs foreign this is not good if you're traveling. Okay. Then they have this DCU Visa Platinum Secured. They say the pros, no annual fee, 11.50 variable APR, so that's pretty low. No foreign transaction fee. So right there, these are 3 good things to look for. Low interest, no annual fee, no foreign transactions. But that comes with a loss. There's no rewards program. There's no timeline to upgrade. So that means that they're not checking you to see when they can upgrade you. Credit union membership is required. So that might cost you $10 a month. $500 minimum security deposit. So if you've got $500, you can get this card, but there's no rewards. I need rewards. I refuse to ever be in economy class again next to some screaming baby, or next to some dumbass who wants to keep kicking the chair, or next to somebody who's frustrated and starts spinning in their seat and they keep turning on their side and they rubbing against me. No, business class only. That's it. That's it. So anyway, next, best card for traveling abroad. Okay, so I can already tell that they must have some kind of rewards program. So what do they say? The SDFCU has no annual fee. That's good. No fee charged on purchases made outside of America. Great, because when I go to the Philippines, Dubai, or South Korea, or Japan, or China, I don't expect to pay foreign transaction fees. No fees, please. It says select travel benefits, travel and emergency assistance services, lost luggage reimbursement, and auto rental collision damage waiver. Most people think that they'll never lose their luggage. Let me tell you something. Back in 2001, when I was on my way to China, there was a mistake made. My luggage ended up in one place in Beijing, and I ended up in Shanghai without my luggage. I had to wait like 3 days to get my luggage. I think, it was about 2 to 3 days, but I don't think it was 3 days. I think it was like 2 days. So this shit can happen. That's one of the reasons why it's always important to have a credit card. So this way you can go shopping for clothes if you ever lose your shit. You know, you can buy a whole new wardrobe if necessary. $100,000 maximum credit limit. Wow. First of all, I'll tell you honestly, my total credit limit is under $50,000. Now, I know some great people like Michelle Markey who came on my channel and she showed that she has a $100,000 credit limit. I haven't applied for that many cards, but I can do that over time if you take out 2 new cards every single couple of years, or if you ask for raises on your credit limits. It's possible to get yourself to 100,000, but you do not need credit limits that high to get excellent credit. As long as your credit limits are higher than about 30,000 and they have decent credit history, you can be just like me sitting around with an 850. Okay? Reasonable, 13.49% interest. Again, we want to avoid interest. We don't want to pay the motherfuckers interest at all. The only way to do that is to pay on time every time. Credit union membership is required, though it comes at no added cost. That's good. Kind of good. Okay, no clear timeline to upgrade. So really, I like this card. This card is actually really good because whether you travel abroad or not, this card has no annual fee, and it has some level of rewards linked to travel, but everybody's going to probably travel eventually. So yeah, this is a nice card right here. They said the Discover is better. I honestly think, I think this one's better. Personally, if it was me getting a secure credit card, because I travel, I'd be getting this one. I like this card. So, that's it. They showed their methodology. I'm giving you mine. If you're the type of person who travels, this is the best possible card that you could get. Now, if you're just a regular Joe Schmo and you're, just not really going anywhere, they say that the Discover is better because of its cash back program. 3% balance transfer fees. We want to ignore those. 5% on future balance. And let me tell you this. I'm going to say this. They like this card. I got myself into $5,000 of debt with Discover. I got garnished on my wages. This was way back when I was coming out of college. I got a garnishment on my goddamn wages. And what garnishment is they go to your employer and they automatically take money from your paychecks. And they took money from my paycheck until they paid off that $5,000. In fact, there was 10% was the limit for my state. New York State limited them to 10%. So they took money from my paychecks until this bill was paid off. $5,000. I vowed to never use Discover ever again. Does that mean that it's bad for you? No, it doesn't mean it's bad for you. But as far as I am going, fuck Discover. I use Apple Card. I use Capital One Venture. That's just how I feel about it. So I don't mind admitting my faults. When I was a student, my last year of school, I ended up running up a lot of credit card debt because I paid my tuition. I had to eat. I had to get back and forth on the train and the bus. So I ran up my debt. I was working a job and it wasn't enough to pay off my debt. So I ended up going into debt. And once I started working, I focused on paying off my debts. I got cars, used cars. After I rocked a used car, I got brand new cars. I haven't bought a used car since. All my cars now are new. 850 credit score. If you watch my other video, you'll understand what I'm talking about how to improve your credit beyond certain points. But that's just it for me. So as far as I'm concerned, this video goes out to the person who asked me to do it. As far as I'm concerned, this card down here, the State Department Federal Credit Union card, is the best card in my opinion. I'm going to provide you links to this page. I'm going to provide you a link to the last video I did about credit. I'm going to provide you a link to the video I did with Michelle Markey, where she talks about it. And that's just basically it. So hopefully you learned from this video. Hopefully you enjoyed listening to this video. Hopefully you could share this video with people who you know who got shitty, fucked up credit. And hopefully we can get them on the path to having better credit so that this way they can be like me, walk into the bank, tell the manager, get up, get me some coffee, offer me something. What kind of deals y'all got in the bank? I walk into the car dealership. I don't even have to dress up. I can go in there in pajamas and be like, guess what, guys? I got an 850 and you don't. Get me a car right now. I want that Hellcat. I want that Jeep SRT. I want that Mercedes EQS electric car. I want that Tesla. Go get it. No interest. Low interest. I'm not paying nothing higher than 3%. That's it. So the option is yours. You can either have low credit and you can walk into the bank, or you can walk into the car dealership quietly. Oh yes, hi. My name is my name is Taz, and my credit sucks. And I want a car, but I was just hoping that you'd be able to make me a deal. And my credit sucks, and it's not that great. It's kind of fair. I'm trying to build it, but so you have a choice. You can either fight from a point of weakness, or you can walk in like me. Yo, get that Tesla. Get it coming. Yo, unplug it. Let's go. 3%. That's all I'm paying. Period. 850. What you gonna do? I want a house. My second house. You ain't giving me nothing higher than a 3%. So the choice is yours. Do you want to be quiet when you walk in? Or do you want to be able to demand shit? When I walk in, they're like, holy fuck, who the goddamn hell is this guy? How the hell does this guy get to shout at us and boss us around? This motherfucker pulled out a mortgage calculator. He knows everything about interest. How's that possible? The car dealerships hate my ass. Believe me, they hate me. When I go with my friends to buy cars, when I go buy a car, they can't throw anything at me that I ain't ready for, because I bought enough cars to know the game. I seen how they try to fuck with you on credit and interest. See, here's the problem. If your credit is weak, they can do whatever they want to you. They can charge you whatever they want, because you're coming at them from a point of weakness. You want the car. They know you want the car, but all of them are going to treat you like, oh yeah, well, your credit's weak, so guess what? You got to pay this 8% interest on this new Kia. If you walk in there weak, they can kick you around. That's how it is. But when you walk in there with an 850, I go to Mercedes-Benz, I go to BMW, I go to Tesla, I'll sit right up in front of you and be like, yeah, guess what, guys? I ain't paying a dime over X, Y, and Z. That's it. And they could say, oh, but, and I'd be like, no buts, god damn it. No, I'm not paying that. You know how all these people, they trying to scream racism, and they trying to scream sexism. Oh, well, my credit was, I had a 700, and they gave me a ninja loan, or they gave me a bad loan. I'd be like, they gave you a bad loan? Well, you know me, I'm 6'6", and I'm a black guy, and they can see that. But when I walk in, I tell them motherfuckers, I'm not paying a dime over it. X, Y, and Z. If I tell you 2%, that's what it is. Otherwise, I'm going to get up and leave. How about that? I got the money. You don't. You're selling. I'm buying. But see, that's the problem. If you come from a position of weakness, there ain't nothing you could do. There ain't nothing you could do. They can tell you what's what. Not me. Not me. When I walk in there, I feel like, yeah, guess what, guys? You see that Tesla over there? You're going to sell that to me, and I ain't paying a goddamn dime over X or whatever it is. And that's it. That's it. Oh, well, it has to go through yeah. It can go to the finance manager. But guess what, guys? I ain't paying a dime more than X. Oh, well, what if, the dealer fee? No. Guess what? You're going to waive that fee. You know why you're going to waive that fee? Because you see this money right here? This money didn't make itself, guys. You see that Hellcat sitting on that lot? You see that Hellcat that's sitting right there in the middle of the showroom? That big cherry red Hellcat? You see that big silver Jeep SRT? Go get the fucking keys. Like, when I walk in, I feel like a mafia boss. Now, I know some people are, oh, you're egotistical. Yeah, well, guess what? You'd be egotistical, too, if you had an 850. But that's just how it is. If you come in weak, they're going to kick you around. Whether you're black, white, Hispanic, whatever. If you come in strong, they have no choice but to bend to your will. So, let's get our credit going forward, and let's come in strong.